Yo, welcome back. It is week 7 this week. Week 6 was another bummer. I really actually felt pretty confident last week about my picks just because I like to play trends and like tendencies, and based on some of the losses from the week before, it just seemed like it was a good week to catch just some basic, just like automatic winners. I'm grateful that I put the Chargers on the money line. They won by 2, not 3, so that was a good catch. The Rams was a good pick. Steelers was good, but yeah, the rest of it was just garbage. Yeah, the Bills let me down. Yeah, all my parlays, that I put in separate of these main picks that I put in here were the Lions were on them and stuff like that. So what a crazy weekend. One thing I noted from rewatching all the games, which I felt was priority this week because I was just pretty shocked by everything or some of the scores, was that some of these teams had insane sack numbers. So the Seahawks had 7 sacks, the Broncos had 9 sacks, the Steelers had 6 sacks. So yeah, the Jags gave up 7 sacks to the Seahawks. Titans gave up 6 sacks. Yeah, just wild. So, yeah, it was just such a crazy game. Some of those teams were just looked like they couldn't even function. So I'm kind of excited to see some of this stuff like this start to show. Good teams start to show and bad teams start to show. It makes things a little easier for us. We learned that Carolina is a lot better team at home, I guess. They're 3-0 at home, 0-3 on the road. I'm watching them this week because one of the things that I'm trying to catch up on is watching the line movement early in the week so that I can get you guys some tips that make some sense out of what's going on so that you know what side to bet. First of all, the Carolina Panthers game has already moved 3 points from where it started, so that's significant purchase, and that'll make you go, that's sharp money. So the Panthers have been bought from +1.5 all the way to -1.5. So that's a 3-point swing. Huge movement for a Monday, Tuesday, and especially considering the Jets didn't report any major injuries. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're trash. Obviously, that's the main thing they're betting against, is that they're bad. But that was a surprise. So we'll watch the Panthers really close this week. Probably throw them on some of my parlays. They didn't quite make my top 4 picks, but I'm gonna list them with my breakdown so that you'll know why you might have some confidence betting them, even though they're the Carolina Panthers on the road. So also I'm realizing that there's a lot of bias in this because I go through, I make my picks, and I do that without any handicapping, and then I go and take those picks that I like and I defend them, and I decide, is this a defensible pick? Can this pick come through? Is this possible? Can any of these scenarios actually play out? And for the most part, the problem with the bias is that I can always find ways to defend myself. So this week I wrote down all my picks, and I was trying to just be aware of whether or not I could actually take a pick that I made and get it off my parlay, talk myself out of it. And I did with one pick. So with that, it drops us down from, and then I'll leave Monday night off because, yeah, just, I don't know. I don't love betting on Monday nights. I also don't like my money being tied up for another day. I think Sunday's just a great day for me to enjoy top to bottom and not have to worry about. But the reason I'm coming out with the video right on time this week on Thursday before the Thursday night game is because I want everyone to be able to catch my first pick. So with all that being said, the film study this week was in depth. And yeah, the statistical breakdown now is starting to show with some numbers. Now the teams have played 5 games minimum. It's starting to show what some trends, some teams that are top of the league in certain statistical categories, some that are at the absolute bottom. So we'll jump right off. So for instance, Cincinnati is one of the worst teams on third down. They on defense, they can't stop anybody. The Steelers, I'm taking the Steelers was my first pick. I'm taking the Steelers. I'm doing everything against the spread again this week. Got to risk it for the biscuit. I think Thursday night is a super dangerous night to bet on. I don't recommend doing it often. I'm not a fan of betting on Thursday nights and adding them to my Sunday parlay. I can see it going wrong a lot just because there's not much time to prep. I'm also betting, hoping that Hendrickson is limited tonight as it's a short week and he was injured. But for the most part, the Wednesday injury report is garbage. It doesn't mean anything, especially considering like the Packers didn't even practice yesterday. Like they had their entire offense took the day off with nagging injuries or whatever. But that's good. A coach that is in tune with his players and knows when they need breaks and stuff. But Tennessee did the same thing. Tennessee had half their team on a rest day yesterday. So the injury report's not going to be a great key for you at this point in the season. On a Wednesday, so this could be all these numbers could these picks could be totally screwed by what comes out today. We find out that all my quarterbacks are injured or whatever, but we'll just start based on what we have, the information we have, and we're going Steelers as one of the low. Last week they had 16 quarterback hits and 6 sacks against sure a bad offense, but Cincinnati's not a good offense, so we hopefully will have a similar showing from the defense. Cincinnati's also a top in penalized offenses, especially on first down, so they put themselves in the back, in the negative often, so they're starting with 1st and 20, 1st and 15, more than most teams in the league. They're number 3. And then we've got, the line moved from 4.5 to, the line moved from 4.5 to 5.5 on the, in the favor of the Steelers. So to me, that's more like a public jumping on it rather than sharp. The points moving 3 points swing in the opposite direction, that could be a big money play, versus the point moving one point in the favorites direction is probably more like the public is coming in on that and trying to get it while it's the lowest it'll be. Sometimes you have to be on the public side if you want to win, because they sometimes they do win. The books don't always win. So, third down conversion is awful for the Cincinnati. They only have 4 fourth down conversion attempts on the season compared to, that's probably like a quarter of 25% of the league leaders. So they're not feeling like they can risk it. They don't have the opportunity to take shots. Pittsburgh's also the lowest penalized team in the league right now. So they're disciplined. Cincinnati gives up the second most yards per game in the league. And Pittsburgh has protected the ball all year. So, lowest turnover rate. So we're going with a good whole overall good team. Pittsburgh beating overall terrible team in Cincinnati. It should be a pretty straightforward game. Yes, they're going to be tired. Yes, they're going to be, it's a short week. They might not have all the depth that they've had all year, but Cincinnati's really bad. The only thing that I worry about with a big spread like this, and again, it's like, if they're up by, 5 points, and the spread's 5.5, sure. So if they're up by 6 points, and they're possessing and they're playing defense, like, they're either going to lose the game or you're going to cover. Like, they're not going to kick a field goal. Cincinnati's not going to kick a field goal to lose by 2. So, when the spread, you got to worry about being up by 4, basically. And that's where a game would just stay stagnant. If they're up by 3, Cincinnati's going to find a way to tie that game. Like, if the game's close enough to where Cincinnati has a 3-point game in the fourth quarter, you can better believe they have the ability to get in there and score that field goal and send it to overtime, whereas you're probably your best chance to cover. But, it's basically all we have to worry about is a 4 points deficit beating us. 5 point, obviously you lose by the hook, but we won't even talk about that. So, when these games are at these thresholds, these like weird numbers, and again, it started at 4 because 4 is kind of like that one number where you're like, shit, 24-20. Cincinnati has to go for it every time. They can't find a way to win without going for it. So either you lose outright and they figure it out, or you cover, or you lose by a hook. So we're sticking with it, 5.5. It might move, or it's not going to move because it's game day. The rest of the lines that are going to be on this bet might move or might become bad bets, by Sunday. That's why the risk we take. But I tried to do as much research as I could to figure out how to avoid that. Number 2 pick on the list, after the Steelers being number 1, my favorite pick, is the Broncos beating the Giants at home. So the Giants are flashy right now. They're hot. I get it. They just beat the Super Bowl defending champs. They looked really good. I love it. I love what they're doing up there. Based on the numbers, based on the defensive statistics, based on record, based on coaching, I guess. Like, I love Dayball, but you got Sean Payton, the fucking wizard or whatever. I don't trust the Giants to go out there. It's just a tough place to play. Based on all the statistical categories, again, number 2 overall, the Giants give up a lot of yards per game on their defense. So, they're not going to be doing much stopping when it comes to Denver's offense. I know that they got that badass D-line, and I get, there's not going to be probably a lot of time for a 5-step drop or too many play-action passes, but there's other ways to get passes out, and, everything but the Giants D-line, for the most part, is average. As far as points allowed, Denver allows about 14, or they allow 16 points per game. Okay, that's amazing. That's this crazy stat. And New York allows 24. So just based on the defense alone, we should be this game should be controlled by Denver, and it shouldn't be. There's no Malik Neighbors to throw a Jamar Chase stat for tonight, which could screw me. To throw everything out of whack, one player goes for 198 yards or whatever by himself. It doesn't seem like there's a guy like that on the roster right now for the Giants, so that's a good thing for us. We'll go ahead and stick with the Broncos. My number 3 pick, and now we get into the good stuff where my trends from the beginning of the season, the preseason video, are starting to come to light. I said a few teams were going to be really bad this year, and if we would have just bet against, just straight up money line against all the teams that I said at the beginning of the season were the bottom 5 teams, the only team that would have a better would not be 1-5, 2-4, 3 are 1-5, and 1 is 2-4. The only team that would be 3-2 is the Bears. So, and we even mentioned that the Bears were ranked preseason number 8 overall. So I was trying to defend that for them, and I was like, I can't. So I'm leaving them down here in the bottom. Well, again, if we just looked at that on the season alone, we would be 21-3. We'd be 21-7 right now. 21-8, I guess, with the Bears winning on Monday night after I did those numbers. So that's huge. One thing I was right about this year, of all the shit that I took notes on, was that certain teams were going to be trash, and most of those teams have proven that they are trash, including unfortunately the Raiders here in Vegas. But here we go. We're betting against a trash team. This is a line that, based on our numbers all year, we should be able to take care of business right here. Patriots have been living up to, exceeding expectations. Some people had them as a playoff team actually preseason, so they're living up to some people's expectations. But as of now, they are 4-2. They've been playing great football, and the team they're playing is the worst team in the league, the Titans. Statistically, in all categories, they're at the bottom of everything, except penalties. Anyways, so they've got them everywhere. Pat's D gives up under about 20 a game, which is very impressive, while the Titans give up some of the, closer to the higher number in points per game. Vrabel was terminated from the Titans when they had no identity except for him and his hard-nosed toughness, and I think that this is I think he's not a guy that takes stuff personal, at least publicly, but privately I feel like he's gonna coach the shit out of the team this week, and they're gonna be in there proving that he's they sure did make the right decision for his future, maybe not for theirs. But I like the Vrabel revenge game side of things. Tennessee's got the worst third down conversion. They got the whole team is on the injury report right now, and they're not a team that are in the top of the league where hey, let's give some of our good guys a rest so we can like keep this momentum. They like haven't figured out what to do, and they got all their receivers are off the field yesterday on Wednesday. So I'm sure that whole roster will be back for the game, but the fact that they're not practicing when they're this bad is really discouraging for me. All right, so that's number 3. That's easy one. We know who we're betting against. We know who we're betting. We maybe don't know so much what we're betting on. Pats looked great last week, so at least they look capable. So let's assume that they can beat a bad team. Next team we're going with my 4th pick, which I moved this team from like my number 2 pick, or anyway, we changed the order a little bit. But the Packers are going out to the desert. Okay, again. The Packers had a huge cover the other day, 13.5. That's just silly. When the books are screw with you like that, where like they basically give you no opportunity to bet anything but the dog, that frustrates me. I don't like those spreads. I also don't like when they come out with their, like this week was all 2.5 point spreads or 1.5 points. It's just like they're not even trying. But whatever. At this point with the Packers, they've got, I think it's like a 6.5 point spread. They both are pretty good on D as far as like the Packers give up about 19.5 points or 19 points, 20 points, while the Cardinals give up like 21. But the Packers are top 5 in yards per game allowed, slightly higher. So, they just hopefully will look a little bit better on the defensive end. There's a couple injuries to note for the Cardinals. I think Sweat is still out. And then Marvin Harrison is also out, so that's something that I don't make many notes about injuries. Kind of like Hendrickson might be out tonight. Hopefully that'll help us out. But if Marvin Harrison is out, as well as it'll be like Dortch and a couple other guys. It's going to be tough sledding for them, especially again they already lost their starting running back. I think they lost their second string running back. They're down to like their third guy's like a rookie. Yeah, I mean come on Packers. This is where like all that information about how much we liked them before, like it needs to start to show itself. I think that they controlled for the most part enough of that game against Cincinnati to where like it wasn't a concern for them. I don't love this energy from coaches. I can't stand it with Harbaugh and the Chargers. It drives me absolutely crazy. It's like he's literally just protecting like anytime he has over a 1-score lead, he is totally comfortable and just has no desire to like drive the ball forward. So like they don't even bother crossing the 50-yard line, or for some reason cannot do it. And then as soon as this guy gets, if they're within 1 score, their offense looks elite, and boom, they're moving, score. And they give it, okay, so now we got to go score again. It's like, stop leaving yourself in these games where you're down by 1 and you have to go kick it. Like, stop. Like, finish the game in the third quarter. Finish it in the first half. Put these teams to bed. And it's like, nobody wants to do that right now. And I don't think LaFleur did that to Cincinnati. And it's like, yo, you guys were literally, like Josh Jacobs running all over those guys, okay? And then all of a sudden, Cincinnati is somehow within, if they score, then they can kick it onside. It's like, stop leaving these people hope when they're not good enough they shouldn't have it. It's like the old NFL would one like this. Like, put the foot on the throat, man. So, whatever. Let's keep doubling down on the Packers. This week is the first one. They need to cover for me to win. So, we're betting them against the spread. And if they can't do it, so they can't, anyway, sorry, I'm getting a few messages coming through. I apologize. If they can't do it, then we have to bet them again next week. That's how I feel about the Packers right now. Like, they need to show themselves. Their defense is not having the statistical year that I want them to have. I think that's going to have to improve. They're not showing up on any of the big categories except for just just straight up defense. Just total yards allowed per game. They're not like higher or lower on rushing or passing. You're just like right in the same on both. But there's no turnovers. There's not a ton of sacks. There's no forced fumbles. So I'm like looking for the defense to just like show up as playmakers and not just kind of be like a herd or a corral. They're just like, it's like how the Raiders try to play, just keep everything in front of you. And it's just not an effective way to win. You can be competitive, but it's not going to set you up to just win. So that's our fourth pick, Packers. This puts us right around 20 minutes, but I will leave my last couple picks just in case you want to get a little weird and get some extra money. I do like the Rams in London, and I had to talk myself into this one because, in my opinion, the Jaguars are like a home team in Europe. So, and it's all that's talk about that like 5-10 years ago about them maybe moving over there. So like it's just it has traction, it has footing. Like people hear about this and they're NFL fans and they just jump on. They're like, let's become fans before they get here, whatever. So even if it's just a media ploy to get them new fans, it worked. Like they do have fans in Europe. They do play well in Europe. Just like, in my opinion, the Jets play well in Europe, and they defended that the other last weekend when they almost beat the Broncos, for no reason. So let's go ahead and grab the Rams, beating the Jaguars. I don't want the hook. I think it's -3.5. I think it moved to that. It moved a point in the Rams' favor. So watch out. Don't get beat by that hook. I mean, that sucks. It's probably going to be like one of those field goal games. But I trust the Rams' defense. Looks like Puka's on the maybe, but Devin Lloyd is out. And Devin Lloyd is there 4 turnovers on the season by himself. He's like has more turnovers than the whole Packers team. So just throwing that out there as a stat. But he's out, so that's huge. Because Jacksonville has 14 takeaways on the season. They're number 1 in the league. But Devin Lloyd has 4 of them. So that puts them down towards them, towards like top 10, 15 instead. So that's a big miss for them. The captain of their defense. Okay, so we're going Rams. And then also, I do like the Panthers. Okay, I liked the Panthers before I saw the line move. I liked the Panthers before I saw the line at all. I liked the Panthers just in the lineup. I went down this week and I said I like the Panthers. And then I saw the line came out and it's -1.5 to the Jets. And I'm like, why is that? How is that even possible? Panthers haven't won on the road. Okay, so you're going three games to base your picks off of. They had the Patriots dead to rights, right, for like 3 quarters, and then they lose that game. So you can't necessarily say that they didn't play good on the road in any games. But there you go. Panthers were on my list to beat the Jets, and I expected them to have a minus line. It came out as a plus line. I should have jumped on that all day, but I don't bet on Mondays. So they're now at -1.5. I would probably be comfortable taking them up to like 2.5 to get that 3-point win and cover. So 2.5 is my maximum bet I will take on the Panthers this weekend, and they are my 6th bet. If you want to just know where the lines are moving, right now the Bears are showing the line is moving towards them to beat the Saints. It's moved up a point. So I think that's closer to a sharp bet than the public. I don't think the public is going to move a toilet bowl game, a bottom of the, okay, the Bears are showing some signs of life, but the Saints are garbage. So either it's just a complete Saints fade that's moving the points, or maybe somebody is actually like knows something about the Bears and they are going to look pretty good even without DJ Moore on the roster this weekend with a pretty bad groin injury. He's not day-to-day. He had to go to the hospital. It's not a day-to-day injury when you go to the hospital. And then finally, Atlanta against the Niners has also moved in Atlanta's favor on the road. So, wow, that's interesting. Atlanta's defense is huge statistically. They're like top statistically. So that makes a little bit of sense, actually. If they think that they're going to shut down that Niners offense, it's 17-13 game, whatever. But they've moved the line for +2.5 from minus. So Niners came out -3.5, and now it's -2.5, or it's -2.5, now it's -1.5. Either way, they like, right now the money likes Atlanta. And then Monday night, you got Seahawks offense, best offense in the league right now, top 5 for sure, versus Houston, top 2D, top 1D in the league right now for sure. That game's tough to pick, but they like Seattle. The lines move towards Seattle. But watch out, because Houston's D is really good. It's going to be the best D that Seattle's faced so far, even though the offense is not. So Seattle defense should be able to shut down Houston. But again, when we're talking about these games are like 13-10, it's like it sucks when the Packers lose 13-10. If nobody can score, anyone can win. So just remember that when you're taking on a really good D, even if your offense is elite. I had to kind of rush through that a little bit. Got a little long-winded at the beginning, but hopefully you like those picks. Steelers, Broncos, Patriots, Packers, all against the spread. And if you need to make some more money, go with the Rams and the Panthers to beat the spread or even take those two teams money line because they're my least favorite picks. But as you can see from last week, the Bills being my money line pick did not work, and one of my favorite picks also didn't work. So the fucking Cowboys, awful. So here we go. Figure it out. Keep betting on the bad teams is the key, though. That's what's working for us. Or betting against the bad teams, right?